Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes, it's Kathy Colaiacovo with the Marketing Your Private Practice podcast. And today we're doing one of our free marketing reviews that I offer through the podcast. And I have a guest with me today, and her name is Tammy Morse. Tammy is a certified professional electrologist and a member in good standing with the Federation of the Canadian Electrolysis Associations and the Atlantic Association of Professional Electrologists. That's tongue twisters to say. I'm just going to say, hey, Tammy, welcome here today and welcome to the podcast. Tammy is the owner of Razor Free Electrolysis, which is located in Mount Uniacke, Nova Scotia. And she helps people struggling with unwanted hair or skin imperfections become their best, beautiful self. And I love that tagline. I love how you say that, Tammy. But I know you, Tammy, so welcome and thanks for joining us here and coming on to share some of your marketing struggles. I'm really happy to have you here today.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks for the invite. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. So full disclosure, everyone, Tammy is a recent graduate of the Thrive Marketing Academy. So I do know her fairly well and her business because she's been in the program since June of 2023 and she's just finished. And she has been, I have to say, you've been really awesome to have in the program. You're always fun. You're always, up for good laughs, which I'm always up for having good laughs and fun. And I think, honestly, you have one of the top, you made me laugh with your post on our private community that we have with the members in the program. The day that you posted, because, everybody knows if you're working with me, I'm going to talk about marketing foundations and doing things like email marketing and having a newsletter list. And you didn't have one before you joined the academy, did you, Tammy?
I did not.
Right.
And I did not want one. And I didn't think they were worth the time or the effort. I didn't think they worked. And I had to eat a lot of crow.
And that's what she posted in this post. She put in there that this was the day she actually had to eat a little crow because I think that particular situation was I had made you go check like how many signups you had coming on the newsletter. And she had it there on her website and she actually had several people on there. But I think that I can't remember if the crow comment was about getting people on the newsletter list, meaning people actually were interested in getting your news, or was it when you had the first consult that got booked from somebody who had signed up on the news that you didn't know?
No, it was the fact that people were signing up for a newsletter.
Right.
And I didn't have to just eat crow once because I thought, okay, this might be a one-off. And no, they are constantly signing up. Now, I don't have a huge following just because the nature of my business, it's even though it's been around electrolysis has been around for 148 years. Once laser came into the scene in the 90s and it was misrepresented as painless and permanent hair removal, electrolysis took a back seat. And so a lot of people don't realize the power of electrolysis. And so it's not something that they're looking for. Most people are looking for laser. They're not looking for electrolysis. So when they find my site and then they're signing up for this newsletter, and I'm like, wow, people are signing up for this newsletter. I have to eat more crow. I had a really big, humble pie that I had to dig into. So, yeah.
Yes. And I love it when that happens. Not the eating of humble pie or crow, but the experience that the foundations of marketing work. Because I talk to people all the time, and my message that I want to share with people is you don't have to be on social media all the time, and you don't have to spend hours a day doing marketing that way. There are other ways that you can market your practice or your business too. And Tammy was a really good, example of how all that could work. So let's get back here. We're going to actually do a marketing review. And before we dive into Tammy's review, I do want to remind everybody listening in that these reviews are free and they're open to everyone. You just have to be willing to come on a call with me in my recording studio, which is virtual, and expose a little bit of your marketing struggles and talk about them. Let me give you some advice, and then off you go. And in the end, I'm not only going to give you some steps to take to fix things or improve them or change what you're doing, get some results, but I'm also going to share the fact that you are on my podcast, which is free marketing for you, is what I say to everybody. So everybody is welcome to join into that. And there will be a link on those show notes where you can book your own free marketing review. So let's dive in here, Tammy, because we are doing a blog or article review, which is one of the types of reviews that I do offer. So with this one, what Tammy's looking for is some advice on a blog post that she had put out on her website. And this post is live on the website, correct?
It sure is.
Right.
And I actually just have to say, this is another one of those things that I fought in your course, was writing blogs, because again, I thought it was a waste of my time. And when you go back and look at the analytics, which is what you teach us to do, it's quite impressive how many people are actually going to those blogs and reading them.
Right.
So,
yeah,
just another eating crow.
Well, and the whole thing is blogs are what I call anchor content, because in the entire Thrive marketing method that I teach, we talk about writing an article that you're going to use on your blog and in your newsletter, and then pulling out content from that to use on social media. So you're not creating content to go everywhere. Now, Tammy, I will be honest, and anybody that wants to also check out and follow along, if you want to follow along here, I'll put a link to the two blogs we're actually going to talk about, because we're going to talk about two, and there's a reason why. But I'll put a link to those two blogs along with her website, which is razorfree.ca. And so those will be in the show notes, so you can look at those as well. Often by the time this comes out, the person has gone back and fixed up what we've talked about though. But then you can still go and check it out. So that's the thing. When you put blogs on your website, you're putting that content out there so the search engines can find you, and so people can find you. And so search engines can help people find you too. So that's the whole point of this process. And it's why I believe that anchor content like blogs, or in my case, I put my podcast show notes on the website, which is a blog type of content. And those are really helpful because it lets you put more and more content on your website. So I am so glad to hear that you keep doing blogs and have been doing them and continue to, because for me, that's the biggest thing that I find when people say they spend so much time on marketing. Often it's because before they come to me, they may have had a blog out there and a newsletter and social media, and it was all different content. And there's no need to create that much content. There are going to be raving fans, everybody has, that will read every word that you put out there, which is great. You'll just enhance the lesson by having them see some of it that you've repurposed, is the way I look at it.
Exactly.
So when we're looking at this, Tammy, your blog purpose is, I think, getting content on your website related to the words electrolysis. Sometimes you might refer to laser because you're going to put that in there. And by the way, for everybody listening in, she'll do that because keywords are words people look for online when they're searching. So if Tammy does have some words about laser there, when people are actually looking for laser, and Tammy, I think the phrase is laser hair removal. Is that correct?
That is probably one of the search terms.
Okay. And so it's just a different way of removing hair than electrolysis, correct?
Right. It's
right.
permanent reduction, where electrolysis is permanent hair removal. And there is a distinction, which we can go into on my blog.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But what I want everybody to understand is Tammy doesn't offer laser, but she might use that word and those words in her content because people will be looking for that online, which gives her an opportunity to catch or be caught by those in the searches. So when we look at the blogs, because I do think they're key, and the one that we're going to look at, and I got to tell you folks, she's got one of her really funny images that she puts together on her social media, and you definitely want to follow her on Instagram because she has a really good sense of humor, as I mentioned earlier, and she puts some really awesome and funny images out there, marketing content on her social media. I really laugh a lot when I look at her stuff. And so this particular one has a really funny picture of a woman with like hair all down her face and sunglasses on. And I mean, it just, comes across as, I think it gives us a bit of an insight into your personality too when we would work with you. So this particular post is called Laser May Make You Hairier. And so in it, I assume, Tammy, you're trying to educate people on the difference between electrolysis and laser and what people could be getting and experiencing when they do one over the other, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
Awesome. So you've got an article here. It's probably about 500-700 words, I think, which is, that's decent. Most people wonder how many words do you need to have? You don't need 1,000 words. It's not how many you need for any effective blog. It's really all about getting a good message there and putting the content out there that is keyword rich on your website so search engines can find it. That's what is key with this. So Tammy has an article there and it's about 700 words, I think. So it's all about the content that's in there, and you've done a lot of the stuff that we have on the blogging checklists that I use and share with students in the Thrive Marketing Academy. And when I'm looking at blogs, I'm always looking for some key elements to make sure that they are included in there. Of course, we want to have a keyword-rich title and subtitle. I always like to start off and recommend that you do some sort of an intro that gives people kind of an acknowledgement of the problem they might have, the promise that you're going to help them fix or address some of that problem, and an overview of what you have in the article that kind of hooks them into reading more. So those are a couple key things that you want to have at the top of any blog because it's integral into the content, the keyword, the SEO for Google, but it's also something at the top that will help encourage people to keep reading. Because blogs are the same as website pages. You only have a very limited amount of time to capture people's attention. So you've got to do that in a few seconds. So when I'm looking at a blog, I'm always looking for the title. Then I'm looking for a subtitle, which should typically be about one sentence and keyword rich and just sort of supports the title. And then I'm looking for a little intro into what someone is going to learn by reading this that talks a little bit about the problem. So I'm really glad you sent me in this post because there's some key things here, Tammy, that in particular you're missing that I think could help, number one, in the aspect of search engine and search engine visibility and make sure that this post gets seen a little bit more. So you have the title and then you go into a paragraph. And I don't know if she's here looking at her own website, taking a look at this or not as we do this. But so the title is Laser May Make You Hairier. And then it says, if the thought of permanently getting rid of unwanted hair excites you and you're excited and you're considering laser hair removal, be sure to carefully read the fine print on the consent form. And then there's another paragraph after that, and then it kind of goes into this. So one of the things that you're missing here, these three elements is what I really want to focus on in this. You've got a title, Laser May Make You Hairier, which is great. But laser on its own is not really the keyword we're looking for here. I can see her nodding her head, folks. She's got her head going here and she's like, oh man, I know what Kathy's going to say. What should that title really be, Tammy?
Laser hair removal may make you hairier.
You got it. Exactly.
I knew it even before you even got to edit. I was like, I forgot the keyword in the title.
You did. And you've got it in the first sentence, which is good. But laser on its own is not a keyword for Tammy in doing a complementary or an opposite keyword here, which is what she's doing with this. She's trying to capture people that would be looking for laser hair removal to get them to see the difference between what that is and what she offers. So the title definitely needs to be Laser Hair Removal May Make You Hairier. Okay. Now, URLs are important in blogs too. So I know you're going to go change that, Tammy. You need to make sure that somehow your website system does not go and change the title that you have on that URL. That's really important, folks. If you ever change anything that changes the URL and the blog has already been out there, it's been shared online, maybe you've shared it in some emails, you don't want to change it because if anybody finds it, then they're going to get a 404 error and they won't be able to see it. So just be careful if you do change. And I know you're going to, Tammy. She's probably done it already, to be honest. I can see her on her computer as we're doing this. So that is key. All right, Tammy. So I know you're going to go fix that title.
Done.
The second thing you need to have is a subtitle. So a subtitle is the first line in the actual content. And this is something, and I know a blog somewhere on the H1, H2, and H3 tags. I have something that I mentioned on a recent podcast. So I will do a reference to that in the show notes for this episode. Because the second thing you want here is a keyword-rich subtitle that's in the H2 tag. And most of our website systems out there, WordPress definitely, Squarespace, Wix are a lot that I work with clients with. Those ones have the ability to put words into an H2 tag. So your second line in here, Tammy, is quite long. I do like them to be more like a very smaller sentence. And if the thought of permanently getting rid of unwanted hair excites you and you're considering laser hair removal, be sure to carefully read the fine print on the consent form. So that's a little longer than I would typically like to see the subtitle be. So I would rewrite that a little bit. I like how you have the word laser hair removal in there because you still got a keyword. But I would probably try to write it somehow a little bit differently. Like, I do like if the thought of permanently getting rid of unwanted hair excites you is good and you're considering hair removal, laser hair removal. What I would do is make sure you read this first. And then you could mention the fine print and the consent form and the next part where you would actually make it into a sentence or a paragraph after that. But you want a keyword-rich subtitle. And the sentence that we're talking about turning it into in a paragraph after you have that title, Tammy, is what I call the intro. And that's where you have some of that in the next part of this first paragraph. A laser company that is transparent. So again, I could be doing laser lights. I could be doing all sorts of laser there. So you want to change that phrase, a laser company, and make it more relevant keyword to you, okay? That is transparent will include a warning about the potential for, oh my gosh, she is testing me out on words, folks. Will include a warning about the potential for paradoxical hypertrichosis, holy crow, alongside the glowing success stories of other clients. So basically, this article is letting people know what's the difference between laser hair removal and electrolysis and what are some of the risks, I think. Is that the gist of the article, Tammy, if you look at this?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and kind of you go into it, you explain what this big term paradoxical hypertrichosis is. And yes, the name sounds scary. Those words are written here. And then you assess your skin for laser is challenging. It's about hormones. What can be done about excess hair? Then you talk about electrolysis. See your doctor, ask questions for hormones. It could be some of that. Then you talk about it's okay to shave your face. And then you have a couple pictures on here. You have some information about the FDA on one picture here that talks about something in regards to electrolysis. And then the article ends.
Yeah. Caveat, I was crunched for time and I had to get my newsletter out, and I was like, I need to get this done. And I skipped a few steps, which is why I knew this would be the perfect one for this audit.
Excellent.
Because I knew I'd missed things and I was going to go back and fix them, and I forgot.
And now she's going to remember. One thing I always tell people is because when you do these blogs, when you start getting consistent, you're often going to find yourself referring to other blogs, or things will change, or maybe you have a call to action today for a special event happening, and then it's going to be gone. Anytime you put a blog together on your website that is going to have something you're going to reference that might have a time change or time limit to it, or if you know that you've done one and forgot that you'll need to come back and add something to it, I always just say make yourself some sort of reminder to go back and do the change, because it is really key here, especially in your case. So what we want to see, so Tammy, you really have done a good job. Basically, this entire article is about explaining to people a little bit about the difference between laser hair removal and electrolysis, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you have an article on your website somewhere already? What is the difference between laser hair removal and electrolysis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and this one is more talking about some of the risks of laser in particular compared to the risks with, or the differences between electrolysis, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and there is a call to action of come and see us in our professional, caring, small salon environment. We can permanently remove hair from anywhere. So you do have a call to action there, but it's kind of in the middle of the content. So a couple things as we go through this article that you're missing that are things that are always key on my blogging checklist are, if you can make internal links to other places on your website, do it. You have several opportunities here, Tammy. One, to book a call, but if you want to learn more, like you literally would want to write this line in. If you want to learn more about the difference between electrolysis and laser hair removal, read this article we have on our website, or you can read this article, put the title of the article and make the title of the article a link to that article. And that's an internal link, and it's with a keyword rich title on the link, because she's going to use the actual title of the other blog article. These are awesome to have on here, because if you have someone on your website reading your content and then you have something else that they can read and they click and go to that and then they start reading that one, this is really good to do because it keeps them on your website longer. And it's called dwell time. And this is something the search engines can track, they can see, and they are really looking to see that activity, because that tells them that whoever's on your website is reading something, staying there for a while, then they're clicking to another page and reading that even more. It tells the search engines that your content is really good content that people are interested in. So whenever you have any kind of what I call more of a cornerstone article, which your difference between electrolysis and laser hair removal would be a cornerstone content for you, Tammy, I would always make sure any articles that you write in the future, if you can refer to that, hey, if you're not sure what is the difference between electrolysis, where we remove hair, and laser hair removal, read this article. Always use that kind of article in there, which is why those cornerstone ones, those big questions people are always asking. What is intuitive eating? What is electrolysis? What is the difference between electrolysis and laser hair removal? These are key articles that people can have on their website, because you'll be able to refer to it all the time. You may even send clients to it. I have 2 episodes on the podcast about cornerstone content, and I'll link to those in the show notes as well, so that anybody listening, if you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can. But definitely, Tammy, there's an opportunity here to do this and put it into play. You've also got some good subtitles in there, like with H3 tags, other words that are headlining a paragraph. So formatting and putting content in there so that you've got bold format, you've got some subheadlines, you've got some colors, you've got some photos. It helps break up all the text that we're reading here. So putting in bullet points and lists. So for one of the things that you have here under assessing your skin for laser is challenging, that's in there. You have the technician will need to do 2 things. You've got a couple things where you have a 1 and then a 2. I would always make those bullet points. Okay. because then they'll stand out a little more. They'll change the formatting of the text and make it easier for people to read as well. So I would change those two areas too, and consider assessing your skin for laser is challenging. So again, I could be using a laser lightsaber. I could be like, you want to throw that keyword in there if you can get it in there. Okay. What can be done about my excess hair? You've got a subtitle on that, which is great. And then underneath, you have options that won't require hours of plucking later if you're not doing laser. Let's talk about them. Electrolysis, see your doctor or a naturopathic doctor. It's okay to shave your face. So that looks like the three options for what you could do as an alternative to laser, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you've got them there, but the thing that you're missing is on the one that says electrolysis. I would like, do people just search that term on its own, or would you say electrolysis hair removal? I know electrolysis on its own is a term, but just having that word on its own there, I think you could add to it. You know, electrolysis is an option for hair removal. You know, something like that I would put in for that particular title on that article because it makes it more keyword rich. Okay. So I would fix that one up as well.
So the paragraph header electrolysis, put electrolysis hair removal.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Or you could even do electrolysis is another option for hair removal, because then you've got the word option for hair removal, which I could see people Googling, you know, what are my options for removing hair on my face? Like what? So it could be a term that people would use as well. Okay. And then you go down to the end, you know, we can't, you know, you've got a warning about we can't stress it enough, never tweeze, wax, sugar, thread, nair, don't do that. I did that to my husband one day as a joke. And man, if I could have done that to me, he's never had hair on that spot on his body ever since. It was down by his foot near his ankle. I'm just saying I was just having fun. But with that one, I would probably put that warning kind of thing on its own paragraph to make it stand out. Okay. And then you've got an image with the Food and Drug Administration info. And then, you know, we talked about it already. The very last thing you always want to have at the end of the article is a call to action, right? I know you put it in the content. You can come and see us over here, you know, that type of thing. I would actually add in that article, electrolysis is the only 100% permanent form of hair removal recognized by the FDA. So with that, you can say at Razor-Free Electrolysis, this is what we offer. And that way you're getting your company name in the content as well. And that's when you can have that call to action there. But at the bottom, at the end of the article, I'd like to see another call to action in there as well. And you know to put that in there. So those are really the big things I'd like to see. Now, you did give me another article to look at. And Tammy, I just want to finish with one quick comment on that one. So Tammy, the other article you gave me was Connection Between Tweezing and Ingrown Hairs. And then you have a subtitle on this one, Why Tweezing Causes Ingrown Hairs and How Electrolysis Offers a Solution. So when you're talking in the original article we are looking at here, you do mention the tweezing and things like that. This is also another perfect spot for you to put one of those links in that says, if you're wondering, you know, why I'm talking about not tweezing and what can happen there, be sure to read this article and then put the title of the article, The Connection Between Tweezing and Ingrown Hairs, to learn more about this, and then have a link to that other blog. Again, it's another, I know you've now got, like, we've got 3 or 4 links in there, but it's okay to do this because the idea is if you can have somebody staying on that website longer and reading more of your content, the search engines pay attention to that activity. And it really does speak volumes about people are saying this is good content. And that helps them want to send more people there. So that is the last thing that I would say you definitely want to do and fix up on that. And make sure too, Tammy, when you do the fix up on the title, that you go into the back end as well and fix up the SEO title to add the laser hair removal in it too. Because that SEO title in the back end on your SEO settings for this particular post, you'll want to make sure if you add and change that title that you put this change into there as well. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
No. Okay. And I mean, I think you've got a good handle on it. You know what you're doing with it. It's just, sometimes we're moving faster than when we are busy, and that's good. But like I said, you always want to come back and you always want to look at, have I done everything that I could? If you're paying attention to your analytics and you see a new blog post show up there in like some of the top visited pages, always go check it and see, is there something else that you could do to make it work even better, since traffic is coming there that you may not even be sending there. Those are blog posts that you really want to make sure that you're definitely paying attention to. Okay. And so, I mean, I think it's an awesome article, but you just want to do a couple more things to fix it up, to add a little more SEO, a little more keywords, make it more appealing to the search engines, and encouraging people to stay on your website longer, and being a little bolder with that call to action to book a free consult with you. Because you offer a free consult. People can call you, book 15 minutes and talk about, how will this help me? Talk about their worries about, electrolysis, and ask questions. So you do want to make sure that you're making that stand out more. Whereas looking at this now, which I know by the time anybody listening to this will go to, we'll see a whole different article, which is great. But the way you've got your call to action in here, it's kind of hidden in a paragraph. Yeah. Those are good to have, but you also want to make sure you finish off and say in a bolder font, and, maybe a bigger font even, and bold it. You could put a button there, anything. You want to make sure that you're putting that CTA there that stands out and says, hey, if you have questions, book a free consult. And then that goes in there. That's really one of the biggest ones here that I would say for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any questions for you? Like any final asks about that? Or, I mean, no. Like I said, it's an awesome article. You've got it there. You're just missing a few of those key elements in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got some of them done while we were talking. But once I go back and re-listen to the podcast, then I will get the rest of them done for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Excellent. And all right. So I think that takes us to the end of your marketing review. So really, you've got a few steps: a keyword rich title, get a proper subtitle in there. You'll have to shorten what you have to make that happen. A couple other additions of that keyword throughout. Also making sure you put some of those internal links to other pages on your website. Make your own calls to action to book with you stand out. We all like. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.